Ever since The Last Jedi came out, people have been crying foul about Luke and about how his character was ruined or assassinated or what have you. Is that true? I don't really think so. Were his actions unexpected? Absolutely, but I don't think they came completely out of left field, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Most of the arguments come from the fact that Luke basically created Kylo Ren. We're given 3 versions of that story, but the one I think actually happened was the final one we hear. Luke sensed darkness growing in his nephew. He did a little head snooping and found that it was even worse than he imagined. He sensed that Ben would bring down everything he had worked for and destroy everything he loved. So, in a moment of instinct, he ignites his lightsaber to stop it all before it starts. It seems like that's where most people that have a problem with Luke in The Last Jedi just stopped paying attention. They act like Luke was definitely going to kill Ben, and they basically keep telling Kylo's side of the story where Luke looks crazy and just attacks him. But that's not what happened. Luke goes on to say that the moment was over in an instant. He was left with shame and regret, but it was too late. Ben saw everything from his point of view and, understandably, defended himself. I think a lot of us like to remember Luke for his best qualities. We want to remember Luke as the legend he left us with in Return of the Jedi. He saw good in Vader. He wanted to redeem his father. He threw away his lightsaber and proclaimed himself a Jedi. That stance of defiance is how we want to remember Luke Skywalker. But please don't forget that not 10 seconds before, he was wailing on Vader. He cut off his father's hand and was holding him at the point of his lightsaber. In the original trilogy, you could argue that Luke's darkest moment happened right before his most heroic. And I guess people want to say, well, Luke defeated the dark side in that moment. He didn't fully give in to hatred and rage. But just because he won there doesn't mean he's never going to struggle with dark thoughts ever again. That's not how life works. Every day we're met with new temptations and new decisions. Just because you made the right decision yesterday, it's not a given that you're gonna make the right decision today. Luke has a good heart. That's why he refused to kill Vader, even when Yoda and Obi-Wan urged him to. That's the part of Luke we want to remember. But he also has a history of acting on his instincts, which often gets him into trouble. His instincts are fueled by good intentions, but they're often headed down a dark path. I would say his decision to try to attack the Emperor was instinct, and had he been successful, it would have been good for the galaxy. His instinct to attack Vader was driven by wanting to save his sister from darkness, but again, that was a dark moment for himself. It was instinct that caused him to ignite his lightsaber in Ben's hut, but he didn't act on it, and he immediately knew he had made a mistake. He was immediately ashamed of what he had done and what he'd felt, even though he hadn't actually done anything. Had Ben stayed asleep, things probably would have gone very differently. Given the chance, I have no doubt that Luke would have left and then later talked to his nephew, probably completely unarmed, knowing what his instincts told him to do. But we'll never know because that's all it took. 1 second of instinct, one brief but big mistake. I don't think Luke having an instinct that he didn't act on is character assassination, not one bit. If Luke had straight up attacked Ben like Kylo remembers, that would be a different story, but that's not what happened. Luke is a great character, not because he's a good person all the time. He's a great character because he's a good person despite his faults. He makes mistakes, he stumbles, he's human. He attacked Vader, and he stopped. He thought about attacking Ben for a second, and he stopped. I want to make it clear I think it's totally fair to be surprised by Luke in The Last Jedi. I was. It's very different from what we were conditioned to believe in Star Wars Legends. Even if you didn't read Legends, you don't want to see your hero struggle after Return of the Jedi. But it's just wishful thinking to believe that anybody ever stops struggling with their own faults and darkness. We all do it every single day, and Luke Skywalker is no different. I'm not the first person to talk about this, but I wanted to offer my take on things. Hello Greedo did a video on it, and Brian Young has a fantastic and far more eloquent Twitter thread on the matter, so I'll link to both of those in the description if you want to explore this topic a little more. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.